Hello. All right. Today we're going to talk about a little secret of mine. This is the fastest way to rehab your belly muscles for several different reasons. One reason being that traditional kind of sit ups are very good with the strength and the muscles down here. But in order to rehab the whole core and belly muscles, what we really want is less of the big movements and more of those small switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off. The other thing too is that when we say core, we're not just looking at the belly, we're also looking at the pelvic floor. And when we do these movements, these switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off, ideally we're also switching on and switching off the pelvic floor. So the best way to rehab your stomach muscle is to hula hoop. Okay. It's the act of the swinging around motion that means that not only are you switching on and switching off your belly as you go around, but you're also switching on and switching off your pelvic floor as you go around. So usually what happens when you start with hula hooping is you'll get around and it kind of does this. A little bit of that is because you don't have the coordination, but a little bit of that might also be that your belly muscles are a little bit weak, so they're not actually able to hold up the hula hoop. If your problem is either of those, your best bet is to stand legs apart and hula hoop without a hula hoop. Yep. I would recommend not only going one way, but making sure that you also go the other way. So the very first thing that this is going to do is it's going to teach your body some coordination, but you are already switching on and switching off some of those belly muscles. So this is a good way also of getting a little bit of strength in, so that when you pick up the hula hoop again, you'll find that your body is actually able to keep the hula hoop up for a little bit. If you can get the hula hoop up and you can manage to get it to go around a couple of times before it goes down, your issue is probably not coordination, your issue is probably strength. Don't see a couple of swings round as a fail. A couple of swings round is great. A couple of swings round is something to build on. So what you do, and I know that it's frustrating, is you do a couple of swings and pick it up again. You do a couple of swings and then you pick it up again. Eventually, what you'll find is that you build not only the coordination, but the strength to actually keep it going for an extended period of time. You'll also find that at the start, I messed it up trying to show you something. At the start, your hips are doing this to try and get it up. And then eventually, because you've got the coordination, it's a smaller, faster, more sort of flicky kind of movement. So before I demonstrate a little bit of hula hooping, I'm just going to go over a couple of things. When you get a hula hoop, you want a decent sized hula hoop. Usually the way that it works is if you put the hula hoop beside you, it should be up to your waist. Now my waist is there and the hula hoop is only there, so this probably is slightly too small. But you'll find that if you're going for an adult's hula hoop, that they're kind of a bit of a one size sort of thing. So not ideal. The other thing when you choose a hula hoop is you want a heavy hula hoop. Believe it or not, the heavier it is, the easier it is to keep up. You've got more weight to flick around. Trust me, you'll just find it easier. The very last thing, and this is completely optional when choosing your hula hoop, is I have gone for, and I got this off one of those websites like catch of the day or Temu, or wasn't Temu, but it was one of those kinds of websites. This hula hoop came in pieces. So, yep, I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to do that. But these bits all come apart, which means that you can actually pull it all apart, store it in a box sort of that size, rather than having to try and store a hoop. The other thing is this one is nice and padded, and it cost me about $20 from memory, somewhere around there. If you don't have a hoop, can't hula hoop, don't have the space, don't want to embarrass yourself with a hula hoop, you can still do those same kind of core movements. I would suggest, and we do this quite often in my yoga classes, I would suggest sitting cross-legged or on a chair and just moving from side to side, and then around in a nice big circle. And around in a nice big circle in the opposite direction. I also too like to add some arms. Yes, that'll work a little bit of core, but more importantly, it just gives you a bit of space. So the difference though is that if you have a hula hoop, the whole process will be faster. The other thing that's really good about a hula hoop is that if you have a baby, and you have to be careful because you don't want to hit them with the hula hoop, but if you have a baby, you can put them on the ground. They'll actually find this quite fascinating. So you can kind of chat to your baby, entertain your baby, and they'll be quite mesmerized by the hula hoop going around, and you get to be entertainment and you get to do your exercises at the same time. Like I said, the hula hoop does occasionally drop, so try not to put the baby underneath the hula hoop so that if you let it go, you don't clonk the baby in the head. Eventually, this is a really good thing to do whilst watching television, and eventually you'll find that you get to the point where you really can just keep it up for extended periods of time. I'd recommend, once you get to the point where you can keep it up for a long time, 5 minutes a day. But otherwise, keep going for as long as is comfortable and as long as you've got the stomach muscles for it. Guarantee you'll feel stronger in the core. Your stomach separation will heal. It's honestly the best thing you can do for your stomach muscles. Thank you.